Welcome back. This is Gusile Breakfast Show. There is a man called Cleo Bonny, born in Malawi, and he's now self-appointed ambassador of reading. He's with us here in the studios today to tell us about his mission. Good morning and welcome to our program.
Good morning to you, sir.
Cleo Bonny, where were you born and how did you come up as a young person?
I was born in Malawi, where I grew up. In Blantyre, and my mother used to force me to read every night, and obviously she would compel me to read, and that was something I hated so much then. So at that time I think that my mother was a very bad person. I thought she was evil, but over the years that passion just grew in me, and I started loving books and going to the library, stealing books, and I would go to the mountain and read, and by the time I finished reading I would think that I'm going to be the king of the world. And when I would tell my friends I'm going to be the king of the world, I'm going to take over the world, they said I was very poor, I'm not going to be able to do that. But though I never ruled the world, I've tried to help in 15 countries, so many, maybe close to 1 million people and students across 15 countries that I've traveled. And I've seen that people must read in all these countries, but the problem they have is people spend time watching the television. The grandmothers even spend time watching the wrestling and all that instead of encouraging children to read. So it's kind of a strange behavior, but I think I want to turn the entire world into a reading civilization.
Now, growing up in Malawi, what exactly prompted you to go into reading, besides your mother forcing you?
I think it was the lack of people understanding the importance of it, especially in schools, because teachers in the schools and Department of Education, Ministry of Education, they don't actually emphasize much of reading across the curriculum, because they think that reading it's only for English. It should be in a mother tongue, you understand. We should encourage children to read in a mother tongue. Though some of the ministers in some countries, they encourage the nations actually to read in their mother tongue. Their children, they go to the night schools, they speak English at home, but they're encouraging the country to use mother tongue. But what I saw is they didn't have the reading across the curriculum, reading across the board, that every minister should read, or every child who's doing any subject, whether it's maths, whether it's biology, whether it's geography, or whether it's history, the person should read. Whether you're a parliamentarian, you could read constitution, you could read everything else. So reading is across the curriculum, and those are some of the problems that I prompted me to start reading, to start actually helping the world to read. But also it was the corruption that I saw that was cutting across and making people to be more poor. And I've seen that in many countries where the ministers, the parliamentarians, and the many people actually don't work hard to helping the people, and because they lack ideas, they lack the concepts and all that, and that makes them to just think of themselves and being selfish, not wanting to help the people who are suffering on the ground. But also in schools where the children actually their behavior in the classroom, it's actually very disturbing. Also, they don't actually know why they're at school. They think that because they're entering that school gate, they are the students. So I saw that if a child reads a lot, you found that the child will behave like a student, like super students, not just the audience. But also, if you read a lot, it means you become, if you become a boss of the company, your company will be more productive. If the people at the factories can't read, it means also the people that are working at the factory will be more productive. They'll be faster. They'll help the customers, and actually that will eliminate the inferiority that we have among our African people.
How did you come up with the idea of touring the world, more especially the other countries?
The idea of I wanted to do my part, and that my part was actually to use the weapon that I had, and that weapon is like a nuclear bomb, and that is a reading culture. I wanted to help the entire world because I thought the concept of helping the world to read is because it was compelling me actually to go out and express the power that was coming from reading. And because I was reading a lot day and night, everywhere, every time I go out, I take a book. Every time I go to the mountain, I take a book. Every time I go to the toilet, I take a book. So that actually compelled me to help the entire world. But the concept came from reading, that actually, if you want to be a powerful person, you should start helping the world. It's not just piling information in your head, it's to go out and interpret whatever you read into actions. And for me to help the entire world, it doesn't take billions and trillions or the lots of money that people have, the wealth that people have. It takes the brain. And if you use your brain, you can help all the people in the world, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
How many countries have you visited so far?
I've visited in close to 15, 16 countries that I've traveled.
How is the reception in these countries?
The reception is quite different and quite unique and varies from one country to another, because some of the countries actually they find it so strange that a guy from Malawi, he comes and he goes to their country and he wants to help the people to read, and why can't the people within the country help themselves to read? So some of the countries, they find it so strange that a stranger like me, I'm coming to their country, I'm coming to their schools, and I'm helping them to actually understand the importance of reading. So some countries don't accept me that much. So I work so hard. I read first, and then actually I work out the plan and the strategy actually to convince them to accept me. But some countries actually they accept me, like Zimbabwe, you find that people understand the importance of reading, and every school wanted me to be at their school and to help the kids and to help the teachers and to help even parliamentarians, to help the councillors, to help anybody actually that is interested, that believes that reading can change their lives. So the acceptance is quite different, because actually there's too much of a root mentally. The situation on the ground is a bit worse when it comes to reading, because many ministers don't read, many parliamentarians don't read, many councillors don't read, many bosses of the companies don't read at all. Many presidents, some of them that they don't spend time emphasizing the importance of reading. Many principals of the schools don't read. Many teachers actually don't emphasize the culture of reading in their schools across the curriculum.
What is reading, Bond? Because we're busy talking about reading. What is reading? Is it specifically looking at maybe mathematics, English language? What is reading?
I think reading is when you are curious, you want to get knowledge, and you want to get information, and once you get that information, you want to convert it into intelligence, and so that intelligence can be used to empower yourself and to empower others close to you.
You've been to Swaziland before. You met with the officials from the Ministry of Education. How was the reception?
The reception, it was very fantastic, because I met the Minister of Education, Honorable Nhlangase, and he was so interested in what I was doing, and he was so interested, and actually he gave me a go ahead that I can go and inculcate this culture of reading. And he also expressed his feelings towards the reading culture and the lack of the emphasis in the classrooms and in schools. So the reception was good from the Honorable Nhlangase. So I appreciated that, because some ministers in some countries actually they are too bossy and ignoring actually the little people like ourselves that actually can bring transformation. We can contribute. We got special skills, and they ignore us. But Honorable Nhlangase said, recognize that and actually saw that potential that I have, that actually I can make a difference through my special talent that I have.
Now, how many books have you read?
I read every day, 3-4 books a day. I'm a fast reader. I read faster. I'm a speed reader. So actually, I can start from the beginning of the book to the end without stopping. So I lost the count. I read every day. I've been reading since I was 5 years old.
So how has that helped you shape you for the future, and with the different encounters that you come across?
It shapes me in different ways, and it varies, because everything that I do, everything that I know, any relevance in my brain, it comes from reading. Every little things that I know comes from reading. And also because I've been helping and lots of people who like ideas everywhere. Whether somebody wants to go to school and fails, doesn't understand how it's going to go about, doesn't know how to choose a career, or maybe to somebody who's looking for a job, he cannot get a job. Maybe somebody who's maybe is a child, maybe it's a daughter, maybe it's a girl that is just falling pregnant, and that thinks that the whole world is falling upon her. And I just contact books and I find ideas, I find the concepts. Anybody who's suffering, whether you're sick, I go to the library and I look for the medical dictionaries. I look for anything that could help that person, and I go like I'm a doctor and help that person to understand how he can deal with any problem. So it has really shaped me and shaped many others, and I've done a work that not even a single billionaire could have done it, but I've done it in my own in a little way.
Some people will ask themselves if this is not some standard aimed at maybe achieving a certain goal, like going into records.
Yeah, many people have expressed that actually I should have done that and people should have recognized me for that. But actually, I think it's important that I should be an ordinary person and doing extraordinary things than being recognized, than being popular, than maybe going into records and all that. But what I'm doing, I think, in a small way, actually it can make changes, and it can be more faster than being an extraordinary person. But if I can be an ordinary person and doing extraordinary things, I think I'm gonna be able to complete all the countries in the world and change people's lives than probably going on records.
Such a noble cause. Who's funding you?
Obviously, nobody wants to fight me because we're talking about reading, and they have no idea that there's not leadership without reading, there's not a king without reading, there's not president without reading, there's no minister without reading, there's not school, there's no education, there's no good company, big rich companies without reading. So actually people don't actually understand the importance of reading, that reading comes first in everything else. So when you talk about reading and then you ask people to assist you, and people actually, they always flinch, they don't understand why you want to encourage people to read. They read novels, they know how to read, but they have no idea that reading is beyond what they're thinking. Reading can take them beyond their imagination. Reading is, you can read, you can have a degree, PhD, but that does not mean that you're intelligent, because you have to convey everything that you know. So people don't want to sponsor. So I took it upon myself, and I thought that I'm not going to wait for money. I'm not going to wait to be a rich person in the world. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to do it through reading. All the ideas it's going to come from reading. The wealth, the money that is going to take me from one country to another is going to come from reading. So actually I work out ideas, concepts, actually how I'm going to be able to fund myself. Sometimes I write little books, and I just ask some bookshops actually to sponsor, to buy some of my books. And then actually when they give me that money, I make use of that money, and it all goes to traveling.
Besides scholars, who else do you focus on?
Besides the schools, I focus also the ministers, because some of them in some countries, they have no idea how to use the money, and they spend the money, and also they actually diverted the money that was supposed to be used by maybe schools. Like European Union can sponsor, say that we're going to build schools, we're going to build offices for the schools and all that, and some ministers would just convert that money, diverted that money to different programs and all that. So after actually when I speak to them, if they read a lot and they have to actually to be precise with what they do in the ministry or with the parliamentarians, actually to move motions in the parliament, they need to read, they need to have ideas, they need to have vocabulary, because without that they won't be able to move motions, they'll be just sleeping in the parliament. I also sometimes speak to councillors, sometimes, because the reason being is because some of the councillors don't know how to deliver services, and they don't emphasize the importance of delivering services, because actually their brain is kind of blocked a little bit, and they don't know much, and they don't have concepts, and they don't have knowledge, they don't have wisdom. And if they read a lot, it means their lives will change and they can deliver. I also focus on companies who are actually giving the services to the people, to the nation and all that, actually to emphasize the importance of reading so that they can have more ideas and more concepts.
Share your tips on reading culture with the Swazis.
More of the reading culture, okay, I got them here. The reading culture that I have is people actually should read silently, or they can also read loudly, because the reading aloud is important. It helps the person actually to pronounce words, and it helps the person to understand faster. And if you are reading slow, if you're reading silently, sometimes when you're reading silently, it means you start sleeping. But when you read aloud, it means you can spend more time and read, because you're making noise and the sound is going back to your ears. And also I've seen that most of black people, most Africans, they like what goes into their stomach than what they put into their brain. So actually that is important, that actually people should read every day. The other thing is people should try to stretch themselves and do exercise, because if you are weak, if your body is weak, it means you'll never be intelligent. The position of your body, if you exercise and exercise physically, it means you can read, and it means it's going to be important, it's going to encourage you. Also, people should read fast. Most people don't read the way they speak. For instance, if you say pass me the ball, if it's written, if you speak to a person, pass me the ball, it's the way it sounds. But when it's written down, the children will go like, please pass me the ball. They kind of drag. So people should teach themselves to read fast as well. And also people should understand that environment is important. If you create environment for reading, you can read. But if you go to TV, you sleep on the bed, and then probably there's a sofa, you sleep on the couch, or you sit on the couch, you're gonna start sleeping, your eyes will become lazy and all that. So people actually should understand that environment is important, creating environment. And also people, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how small you are, how short you are, how tall you are, how stupid you are, how intelligent you are, how educated you are, and how poor you are, how rich you are, and whether you're a king, whether you're a president, whether you're a minister, whether you're just an ordinary person, any person should read. Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you can read, whether you can read slow, whether you don't know much about reading, every person should read. It doesn't matter who you are. So people should do that. And also don't be shy when you're reading. Most people are shy to read. Most of the time, they cannot read in front of the people. They cannot carry a book in the minibuses. They cannot carry a book in their cars. They cannot carry a book to their churches. They cannot carry a book to their workplaces and all that. They cannot carry a book when they're walking on the street. So the people are kind of shy, thinking that if they read, people are gonna think that they're nerd, and they're wasting time on thinking like that. And people should volunteer to help people. Maybe the blind people. We can also read to the blind people because most of them, they cannot read much. They read using braille, but if you read volunteer, it's actually you amplifying, you helping yourself, encouraging yourself if you volunteer to do that. And people should read encyclopedias. I've seen that most houses, people, presidents, ministers, and some people and all that, they keep encyclopedias in their houses. They never touch them. They just decorate them in their houses, and it's very funny that people don't touch those. And in the intelligence, the knowledge is in there, and it can change their lives. Some of the hidden treasures are in those encyclopedias that are just being decorated in their houses. And people should do that. Should try to read and think, and don't just think too much, but they should try to emphasize the reading.
Bonnie, before we end the interview, can you demonstrate, maybe take a page and read?
I'll take the page, but okay, I'll just explain what I usually do in the classroom. And I usually use some of these books that I've used in some of the countries and some of the schools. You see these books, they're very funny. It's written by Dr. Swazi. So if you go into the classroom and ask the kids to read, and like for instance, did you ever have the feeling there's a basket in your basket? You see, the words are created and they're just invented, and the kids actually tend to laugh. And I say, and you in your bureau, I was it in the closet. Sometimes I feel quite certain there's a jetting in the curtain. Sometimes I have the feeling there's a slug behind the clock. And that zelf I put on that shelf, I have talked to him myself. That's the kind of house I live in. There's a nink in the sink, but that yodel in the bottle, sometimes they are friendly, sometimes they're not. I like the zebo on the table and the gear under the chair, but that buffer on the sofa, well, I wish he wasn't there. But that toothbrush on my toothbrush, him I could do without. And that quimini up the chimney, I don't like him at all, not at all. It makes me sort of nervous when there's all schools down the hole. But that yips on the steps, they are great fun to have around. And so are many, many other friends that I have found. Like the Taylor and the Nella, and the Gela and the Della, and the Bella and the Weller, and the Zella and the Seller, and the Zamp and the Lump, and the Gilling on the Selling. And they are rather nice to have around. Some of them are friendly, some of them are not. Like the yacht in the port. So these books, when you read to the kids, they kind of laugh, especially the very young ones in the grade 1, grade 2, and things like that. And because the words are created, and because reading should be about fun. Don't be too serious. You actually have to enjoy. You have to have joy. You have to enjoy what you're reading. So that's why I use this book.
Do you actually understand the way you read? Do you actually understand what you're reading?
Yeah, you understand. But sometimes if you read fast, you cannot understand because the words in your mouth, the speed, your organs in your mouth, your tongue, your teeth, your lips, because those are the organs that molds the words. Sometimes you cannot understand because you're not used to the speed. But if you read fast every day, it means that now your brain will not focus on the molding of the words from your organs. Your brain will focus on the understanding and comprehending. Actually, understanding is not about intending to understand. That's why the students in the schools, they fail because they intended that I want to understand and all that. But if you just repeat, read and read and read fast, it means actually you can start understanding.
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for being with us on Kusila.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is the man, Bonny, Cleo Bonny from Malawi, self-appointed ambassador of reading. He's touring the world, promoting the culture of reading. He's in Swaziland, and if you want to get in touch with him, you can call us here on Kusile. We'll give you the details. We're taking a commercial break now. We'll be back with the traffic report.